I'm Dana K. White of aslobcomesclean.com, and I'm the author of several books, including How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind. So I am sharing a meal idea with you that's become one of our family's favorite meals, both because people like it and also because it is super easy and works with crazy nights, okay? But I'm sharing this meal idea, not a recipe, meaning I'm going to say, I do this with a little bit of salt and pepper, and I do this. I'm not giving you a specific detailed recipe, but that's what's so beautiful about this. And the reason I really want to share this meal idea with you is that it works really, really well with my best strategy for getting dinner on the table super fast, even on busy nights. And that strategy for meal planning is to pre-cook my most time-consuming and messiest ingredients. The top two are ground beef and chicken, okay? And in this one, I cook chicken in the crock pot. I cook extra, as much extra as I can within the budget and the size of my crock pot, knowing that I am going to completely cool it and then put it in Ziploc bags, smashed as flat as I can smash it, to put in the freezer. And then in the future, I can use this kind of chicken to make any type of recipe that starts with first cook and cube chicken, okay? It's not gonna be as gourmet, it's not gonna be as amazing as going through all these little steps and making sure everything's perfect, but it really works to have home cooked meals on the table super quickly. So for example, I might either make or use some jarred Alfredo sauce. We really like the pre-cooked chicken in pesto sauce, or it can be used in casseroles or soups or anything like that, where the first step is to cook the chicken and then cut it into small pieces. I can just use this and skip that, okay? But some of you may be thinking, oh, but isn't it rubbery when you reheat it? I don't like the texture of chicken that has been cooked and frozen. Totally understand that. Here is the key on that, and this is just a short version of how I do it. I go into a lot more detail and also 2 weeks worth of recipes and talk you through the whole process in I have a little super unfancy meal planning course called Make Dinner Happen. Go to aslobcomesclean.com/make-dinner-happen. I'll put the link in the description for that as well. But here is the key on that. First of all, you want to, like I said, freeze it as flat as you can after it's been cooled, okay? Because once it's been cooled, then it's gonna freeze and be easier to break up. If you freeze it while it's still a little bit warm, it's gonna freeze really hard and rock solid. It's gonna be harder to break up, okay? The key to it not being rubbery later when you eat it is to not recook it. That's why I always say it's ideal for things with sauces, meaning you're going to heat the sauce along with the frozen chicken. So I will stick an actual chunk of frozen chicken into a sauce, and as the sauce warms up, as the sauce heats, that chicken is just going to thaw and warm. It's not going to actually recook. If you have a big old chunk and you have to stick it in the microwave and put it on defrost, yes, it's gonna get rubbery. But this is one of the reasons I love using this kind of chicken in soups, because I will literally throw the frozen chicken straight out of the freezer into the soup, and it just thaws and warms at the same time because I'm not actually wanting to recook the chicken. Make sense? Okay, here's the super easy meal idea. So the first thing I do is I put my chicken in the crock pot. I like to layer it. I do a layer on the bottom, salt and pepper. Another layer of chicken, salt and pepper. Another layer of chicken, salt and pepper, until I'm out of chicken. These in this video are not actually the kind of chicken I like to use. I prefer to use the chicken tenderloins or tenders, whatever, that you get, because they just have less stuff on them, kind of weird stuff, you know, but that's not what they gave me in my grocery pickup. And I was like, I can totally do it with this too. It's fine. I just prefer to use the chicken tenders for this. So I do that. I put it in the crock pot. I put this on high for 4 hours. Here's the thing about chicken in the crock pot. If you are not used to using your crock pot and you've just heard people say it's so great because you just leave and the longer it cooks, the more tender it cooks, they're not talking about chicken when they're talking about that, okay? They're talking about beef. Beef can do that. Chicken cannot do that. Chicken will get really blah, 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 like if you let it go too long. So if you are leaving the house at 7 in the morning and not getting home until 6 o'clock at night or something like that, don't do this unless you have a crock pot that has a timer on it that lets you cook on high and then it automatically just puts it on warm to keep it warm until you get home. But if you have a traditional crock pot that you just turn it on, you're gonna wanna do this on a day when you're not gonna be out for huge amounts of hours, okay? You can also do it on low for 6 to 7 hours, okay? But I prefer to usually just start it around 1 o'clock and then it's done, you know, around dinner time for me. So I cook the chicken with that. It makes its own nice little broth in there. And then, this is my super fancy meal idea. Oh, y'all, it's embarrassing. Okay, and then we serve it. So I am going to put mashed potatoes first, okay? I'll tell you my secret about my mashed potatoes in a little bit. And then I am going to put some of the shredded chicken on top. And then I am going to cover that in some gravy. And then I top it with some corn, okay? Does that remind you of anything? I know. It's kind of like those KFC bowls, which I've never actually had one, but the commercials look amazing, but it's not fried chicken. It's just chicken from the crock pot. Y'all, this is so homey and warm and easy. And then I have all this chicken left over, which I normally do a lot more than I did here. I have all this chicken left over to cool, put in Ziploc bags, push flat, and freeze. And then I have lots of meals in the future, because here's the thing about chicken, y'all. Chicken is nasty. So I highly recommend that you do this the day before trash day, the night before trash day, so it can go out. But the other thing about chicken is I get super paranoid about handling it and salmonella and all that kind of stuff. And so to have this done means I have one day where I'm dealing with the raw chicken, and then I can have multiple meals with home cooked chicken, but that I haven't had to go through the mess and the cleanup and all that kind of stuff, okay? So that's the beauty of doing it this way. Let me give you my other little tricks here. This gravy, I personally think that chicken should have white gravy, whatever. I used this because it was the most like the KFC bowls and my family likes it, and that's just the way we eat it now. It's a package. Don't tell my mom. Mom, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. It's a package of brown gravy. The mashed potatoes, my family loves it when I make homemade mashed potatoes. I'm gonna call these homemade even though they are instant from a box. Y'all, okay, here's the thing. I so many times have put this chicken in the crock pot, having it timed to be ready at dinner time on nights when I'm not gonna be home. And instant mashed potatoes taste perfectly fine. And everybody's happier to have those than nothing, right? Okay, I mean, like, they taste pretty good. No, they don't compare to real homemade mashed potatoes, but they're perfectly fine. And everybody in my house can make these, follow the directions on the box. It literally could not be easier. They are literally done in the time it takes to boil the water. Like, boil the water, and then you put the milk in and add the potato flakes, and it is literally instant. Like, it's kind of crazy how fast it is. So I could either come home after a busy day and make these super fast and make this from a package and we have our meal, or I can say, hey, I'm not gonna be home. Somebody make the mashed potatoes, somebody make the gravy, and you have dinner, okay? So it makes it super easy and fast even on the night where I'm cooking it, and then it makes future meals super easy. Now for the corn, you could use canned corn, drained. You could drain it, for real. Or you could use frozen corn and just steam it in the bag if it has instructions to do that on the bag. What I like to do is I like to put the corn in a casserole dish, And then I put a tablespoon of olive oil, I put a little salt and pepper, I stir it all together, and I stick it in the oven on 400 for around 10-ish minutes. If you don't want it quite as crunchy like we do, it's not really crunchy, but it has a little chewiness. Like the chicken was a blah, blah, blah. That's bad. This has a that's good, okay? So I like that, but if you don't like that, you know, just watch it, maybe 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll do about 15 to get it to like this, okay? All right, chicken mashed potato bowls. It's a meal idea, not a recipe, but the whole beauty of it is that it's one mess that eliminates a lot of mess in the future, and it's a super easy meal that continues to make getting dinner on the table super fast. If you want to check out the course, like I said, it's so unfancy, like, oh my word, but it does have 2 weeks worth of meals that have you pre-cook chicken, ground beef, rice, and then you use those ingredients in 2 weeks worth of recipes, which honestly for most people is going to last them 3 weeks to a month, right, worth of cooking. So you can go to aslobcomesclean.com/make-dinner-happen if you would like to know about that. Just know it's not fancy. Did I already say that? It's really not fancy. So if you're expecting fancy, don't go. And if you want to know, well, what's included in it, go to the link, and on that I have a list of all the ingredients so that you can see if it does not work for your eating style, and I have a list of all the recipes so you can know what you're getting into, okay? It's only $16 too, so it's super unfancy. All right, go crock pot some chicken and have some of these. They're so good, y'all. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.